Welcome to the Value Stuff Podcast. I am your host, Dan Glazier, and I am a personal property appraiser, and I value stuff for a living. Thank you so much. This is episode number 1, and I was trying to think of what am I going to talk about my very first episode. And I was thinking, what is it I do mostly? And probably 70 to 80% of my business is estate appraisals, the contents appraisals, usually for estate purposes, whether it's an actual estate or people are actually have to downsize their parents and they go into long-term care facility. But anyways, it can be very stressful. Usually there's one or two people, they're in charge with having to basically downsize the whole household top to bottom. And it can, it's not a very thankful job, but I see a lot of mistakes along the way. So I've come up with 5 steps that you need to do before you even actually start the downsizing process. So there are 5 steps. So let's get started. Step number one, you need to take a video of everything in the house and everything outside and everything in the garage and everything in the shed. This does not have to be a Martin Scorsese Hollywood production, but basically all you need to do is take your smartphone out. You need to walk around the whole household and you need to take a nice video. And you can do this in 3 or 4 steps. You don't have to do it in one video. What I would suggest is you start in the entrance and you walk through and you just pick out how you're going to do it. But I would start with the entrance and I would, you can pick the living room and then you do the dining room and do the kitchen, you do the bedrooms. If it's a large household, it might take you up to half an hour to do all this. But if it's a small like apartment or a small condo, you could probably do this in about 10 minutes. And don't skip the basement. Don't skip the attic. You want to capture a video of everything. And the reason we're doing this is you're going to capture a video. You want to capture all the personal property. And what I mean by all the personal property is anything that actually isn't the household. So you want to capture all the furniture, all the artwork, if there's carpets, zoom down the artwork. If you find damage on something, you want to zoom in on the damage so it shows that you've done that shows what has damage. The reason we're doing this video before we do anything else, it's for 2 reasons. The biggest reason is it's protecting you if you're the person in charge having to downsize with this stuff. So it shows everything that's in the house and it shows anything that has damage. But it also shows what's not there. And what I mean by what's not there is if you're dealing with an estate, sometimes people that are mentioned in a will or beneficiaries, they might not have even been in the household for 5 or 10 years. And sometimes when people start aging, they start to give things away and they don't even let their family members know. So by taking this video before you've done anything, you're doing your due diligence. You're protecting yourself, but you're also protecting the estate, and you're showing what's there and what's not there. So again, it does not have to be a Hollywood production, but you do want to make sure you capture everything. If there's china cabinets, things like that, you want to, just maybe open up do a little video of in the china cabinet, capture anything, capture if there's some fine china, if there is sterling silver flatware. You just want to capture all this stuff. And again, it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to take you hours, right? A small premise is 10 minutes, medium premise is probably 15, 20 minutes, a large premise is probably about half an hour. And you could break it up where maybe you do the main floor with one video, you do the basement with another video, you do the top floor of another video, and then you do, say, the garage, the shed, and everything outside in the video. So that's step number 1. Step number 1, let's do a video, and don't skip this. Step number 2. Step number 2 is seems like logical, but a lot of people don't do it, and it can create a lot of problems. Step number 2 is we're going to get rid of any perishables. And what I mean by perishables, I mean anything in the fridge, anything in the freezer, anything basically that can go rotten. So if there's cellars and cold rooms and there's fruit and vegetables and stuff, you want to get rid of all that stuff. And what I mean by get rid of it, if you can give it to food banks, you can give it to other family members, you can give it to students. It doesn't matter. You can take it home. But we don't want stuff in a fridge or a freezer. And the reason being, often there is you're not going to be able to come back sometimes to the premises. You're not coming every week or every couple of days. You might be coming back in a couple of weeks or a month. If there's a power outage and that freezer stops or that fridge stops, or they just stop because the compressor goes or something, you do not want a house that smells like disgusting mess. I was at a house doing an appraisal earlier this week, actually last week, and I opened the fridge and it was disgusting. It was black and moldy and stuff, and that's what had happened. Power had gone out, and they didn't realize it, and there was a fridge full of just disgusting mold. Also, there was a smell in the house, and you don't want that smell. So step number 2, very simple. Let's just get rid of all the perishables. Very simple. So step number 1, let's do a video of everything, capture all the contents in the house and stuff. Another tip, when we're doing the video, I'm backtracking a little bit. If there's damage in the house, meaning like damage in like there's a leaking, there's the water leaks and stuff, you can capture that stuff in the same video and stuff like that too. Sort of do the same thing, but we're mostly capturing in the video all the contents of the stuff. But if there's some obvious damage, you want to capture all that, and any damage on any furniture or anything, just to show that it was there before you became the person in charge of having to downsize the whole household and the contents. Step number 3 is you want to get together all important paperwork. So what I mean by important paperwork, hopefully you have a copy of the will. If you don't, you're looking for the will. You're looking for any bills that show, because you're going to probably have to pay some bills or figure out the bills and stuff. So any bills, any financial statements. You're looking for even things like old appraisals. There could be appraisals on jewelry. There could be appraisals on artwork. We're looking for any kind of important paperwork. If you're lucky, this paperwork will all be in one location, and you'll be able to just find it very simple. Like, could be in an office or a den or something. That's usually not the case. Sometimes paperwork's in the kitchen, sometimes it's in the basement, sometimes it's stored in attics, and some of it's in the office. But we want to gather all the important paperwork. And also a tip, when you're gathering the paperwork, I would then centralize it in one spot. So what you need to do is you want to get a banker's box, or I'd get one of those plastic banker boxes kind of hanging, where you hang some folders in there, and I'd put all the important paperwork in there. You might have to take the paperwork off the site, and that way it's nice and compartmentalized. Or if you're going to leave it on site, at least you know where everything is. So step number 3, let's get together all the important paperwork. Again, financial statements, the will, warranties, anything there's warranties, financial papers, deeds to houses, mortgage papers, any important paperwork that has anything to do with the will and also the personal property. So let's deal with that. That would be step number 3. Step number 4. This is going to take time. Do not skip it and follow these directions. You will save yourself so much trouble down the line. So step number 4, what I want you to do is you are going to go through every drawer in the house, every closet in the house. You're going to look under every carpet. You're going to look behind all the paintings, pictures. You're going to go through any boxes. You're going to go look through all cupboards in the kitchen, cupboards anywhere. You're going to look in drawers even. And what we're looking for anything that's valuable or important. They're hidden. And what you're going to do, it's important when you're in clothing, you got to go through all the pockets, look in the seams, you're going to look in purses, you're looking for anything. We're looking for money, we're looking for coin collections, we're looking for jewelry. A tip is when you're going through a drawer, don't just go through the inside of the drawer, look underneath. We've found money that's been taped, usually in an envelope, and it's taped underneath. Found money under mattresses, so you're going to check under mattresses. You're going to look under cushions and couches. This is going to take a lot of time, but don't skip it. Do it systematic. Do room by room. I would get a notebook. I always have notebooks with me. I love notebooks, and you can make notes. The notebook can actually, you can keep track of, as you do the steps, you can check things off where Number 1, I've done the video, check that off. Number 2, we got rid of all the perishables. Step 3, we've got all the important paperwork. If you don't find all the important paperwork, step 4 will help you also find some of the paperwork because you've gone through all this stuff. What I also want you to do, this is a very important tip. I want you to get some green painter's tape, or it could be any color painter's tape, but I want you to use painter's tape. And the reason we use painter's tape, it does not take the finish off like cabinets or drawers or furniture. And when you go through, let's take an example. Let's say we're in the master bedroom and there's, a chest of drawers and an armoire. So we're going to go through the chest of drawers first. As we go through each drawer, we're going to put tape on each drawer. So if there's a 9-drawer dresser, there should be 9 pieces of tape. And that just lets you know, and anyone else that's helping you, because hopefully you have 2 or 3 people helping you. They might be in a different part of the house, but you've gone through that dresser. And when I mean the dressers, again, we're going to look in the drawers, underneath the drawers, look behind the dressers, even behind the mirrors. But you're going to put a piece of tape so you know that's done, that it's all done. So you've done that. If you're doing a closet, you don't have to put a piece of tape on everything in the closet, like every piece of clothing or anything like that. But you want to put, on I would actually take a bigger piece of tape and I just put a note, everything's been checked in the closet. You want to make sure, when you do cabinets, that you put the green tape on the cabinets and stuff. So basically it lets you know that everything's been checked. When you get to boxes, like say storage boxes in basements, you probably are not going to have the time or the energy to go through every box, but at least open up the box so you get a good idea of what's inside the boxes and stuff like that. We're looking for valuable items and important items. A tip, if you find, some valuable items, you can put them on top of the dresser, or you put them, if it's in a bedroom, you put them on the bed. If it's very valuable, and what I mean by valuable is it might be jewelry, it might be coin collections, it might be, a stamp collection. You might want to take that off site. But anyways, you've gone through it, but you can write that down in your notebook as you go along. So we're going through the whole household. If you have more than one person helping you, so if there's 2 or 3 of you, start in different parts of the house, but make sure it's done very systematic. Don't jump around. You have to be very methodical and systematic with this. I love those 2 words, methodical and systematic, when we're dealing with this. It's how I do my appraisals. I do room by room. I don't jump around and stuff like that. It can take a lot more time. So do step number 4. That's very, very important. So step 1, let's do a video. Step 2, let's get rid of all the perishables. Step 3, let's gather all the important paperwork. Step 4, let's go through everything. And again, step 4, you are not going to be able to do this usually in one day. If you have maybe a small apartment, you might get away with it one day, but usually step 4 is going to take you a few days to do that and stuff. That's why it's good to have the notebook so you know what you've done, and that's to have the tape. So when you come back in a day or 2 or a week or sometimes a month later, you know where you've started, you know what's gone through. So that leads me to step number 5. And step number 5, don't skip this. It's very important, but make sure you do those 4 steps before we get to step 5. Step 5 is you are going to call in. You're going to have an appraiser come in, a personal property appraiser such as myself. And the reason we do step 1, 2, 3, 4, and before we get to 5, the only thing we're throwing out before we get to any of this is garbage. And when I mean real garbage and perishable food. Okay. We don't want to get rid of anything of value before an appraiser's come to look at it. I'll give you a quick story. I was managing an estate sale. It was more of a downsizing sale. And there are people I'd done an estate appraisal for years before for a different premises, but they were downsizing themselves and they wanted me to manage a downsizing sale for them. So I went there, I looked, I said, there's a lot of good stuff. And then I went in the basement, and in the basement, in the corner, was a bunch of stuff that they were going to throw out. And I said, don't throw any of this stuff out until I go through it. There was an old Commodore computer. There were vintage toys, like 90s toys. There was old video games. That pile of garbage we sold for over $2,000. So do not throw anything out till an appraiser's come in. I've often been called in to do an appraisal. I pull up, there's already a bin there, and I always look inside the bin. And I would say probably 80% of the time I look in, there is stuff being thrown out that people think is garbage. There's hundreds of dollars, sometimes thousands of dollars. So do not throw anything out unless you are 100% sure it's garbage and the perishable stuff. So let's get back to step 5. Step 5, we're going to get an appraiser in. An appraiser would be someone like myself. And don't skip this. There's, depending on where you're located, what province, what state you are, sometimes legally you're supposed to get an appraisal of all they call it the other assets. So that would be the personal property and the household contents. But even if you don't have to, you don't think you have to, I just think it's a good idea. Even if you think nothing's valuable in the house, because at least if you get a professional in that knows what they're doing, they can look at the stuff and they can give you an idea. Yes, there's no value. So that helps you make a decision farther down the line of what to do with the stuff. So we're going to get an appraiser in. An appraiser should list all the main items. He's going to list all the main items. We're going to take photos, going to do descriptions, and then we'll come up with an appraisal report, which will give you these values. Once you have all these values, now you can start making the downsizing decision, right? So don't skip this. So we're going to get an appraiser to come in. And because we've done step 1 to 4, we have pretty much found anything of value. Because if you get an appraiser in and you haven't even done any of the steps, you get the appraiser in, which this happens often. I get called in and there's valuable stuff in drawers and stuff like that they've never even found. I kind of find them as I go through them, but I haven't, I'm not there for days and hours. So you want to make sure you do steps 1, 2, 3, and 4. So when the appraiser comes, we have all the things of value, and the appraiser can then do a proper appraisal report. They'll have photos, descriptions, and should give you values, fair market values. Usually when we're dealing with an estate, you're going to fair market values. And after that, step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we can now start the downsizing process. And when we're doing the downsizing process, now we can decide, what are we going to sell? What are we going to keep? What are we going to give away or donate? And what we can throw out. And if you do steps 1 to 4, before you get to step 5, where you get an appraiser in, it will make life so much easier for yourself. Take the stress away. Also, the reason you call it step 5 is calling an appraiser. You're doing your due diligence if you're an executor or power of attorney, but you're also taking the pressure off yourself as far as having to make a decision. Because if this isn't what you do for a living, you might not know what an antique dining suite's going for. Some people might think it's worth $1,500. Some people might say throw it out, but it might, let the appraiser decide what has value, what doesn't have value, especially if there's artwork, antiques, anything of value. Another quick story, the reason you call an appraiser in, a few weeks ago, I did another estate. The gentleman called me and said, I need an estate for probate, for estate purposes. It was my brother's stuff. There's nothing here of value, but I just need to do it because, that's what the lawyer asked me to do. I went there. First of all, there was some valuable stuff because there was some bar memorabilia. But as I was going through the whole household, I found this very funky floor lamp. I took my pictures, did my due diligence, inventoried all this stuff in the house. And when I was going back and doing my research, when I figured out what this very funky lamp was, it was worth anywhere between $1,500 to probably about $5,000. And when I brought it to the attention of the gentleman, he told me he'd bought it down in Florida. He paid $25 for it. He bought it at a flea market in Florida. He gave it to his brother just because his brother liked kind of weird things. And he was going to put it out on the curb because it was metal, and he thought a scrap metal person would come and get it. So chances are it could have gone into a scrap metal truck and ended up being recycled instead of, something that on the minimum it was worth $1,500. So that's just another quick story, why you call an appraisers in, why you don't throw anything out because you need somebody that understands what the value of stuff is. And that's the name of this podcast. It's called The Value of Stuff. So again, I'm going to go over these 5 steps really very quickly. Do the video, make sure the video you include, just include everything that you can in the videos. Again, should take you less than half an hour, even 10 minutes if it's not a big premises, but don't skip that. Do a video so you're protecting yourself. The video's there to show what's there, but also what's not there. That's important to do the video. Step 2, get rid of all that perishable stuff so you do not come back to a disaster and have to put hazmat suits on to get rid of all the stuff. Step 3, let's gather all the important paperwork so we're not looking for things. Again, in the important paperwork, and this will make the appraiser's job much easier and probably save the estate some money. If there's old appraisals, there could be old appraisals for artwork. There could be old appraisals on jewelry. There could even be an old appraisal on the contents of the house. Get all that together. But we're looking for all important papers to make life easier. Oh, another tip when we're going through, when we're looking for paperwork and stuff, there could be safety deposit boxes. There could be storage lockers somewhere. You might find that, you might not even know about that stuff, but you find it out in the paperwork. You find a lot by actually having the important paperwork, going through the paperwork. Step 4 is where we're going through every single cupboard. We're looking for anything of value and stuff, anything important. Another thing I didn't mention, when we're doing step 4, you're looking for keys, because sometimes there could be, there could be RVs, there could be boats, there could be sheds with locks on them, there could be anything, and we're looking for keys, and a lot of times they're hidden. You should be able to find just about everything you need in step 4. Step 5, let's get the appraiser in. That way you can make an educated, proper decision on what to do with this stuff. It's going to take a lot of the pressure off you. Again, thank you so much. I hope this helps. I really do hope this helps. I'm really trying to help people out here to take a lot of stress. That's my passion. I want to take stress away from people when they're having to downsize estates or downsize their parents or grandparents or uncles and aunts or brothers or sisters, whatever. But follow these 5 steps, do them in order. You'll save yourself a lot of stress. Thank you so much. Dan Glazier, The Value of Stuff. Please share, subscribe and share this video so we can grow it. And we're also on all the major podcast hosts. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful week. Dan Glazier, The Value of Stuff.